place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I'm your host, Asher, and our guest today is Kuldip. And you're here because we get to talk about first-time experiences, which is the theme of our Monday podcast session. And Kuldip, I'm excited about your story, getting into those places you've been hopping around the world to and what you've experienced. So if you don't mind sharing with us where you're hailing from, what you specialize in, how you add value to the world, and who you've been a hero to.
Okay, lovely to meet you, Asha. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Normally, I send in a little spiel about myself, so I'm just going to read this out because I've pre-prepared this. So
Totally.
basically, what this was you would be reading this really, but I'm going to read it anyway. So multifaceted, a gusty trailblazer is certainly one description that conveys Kuldip's joie de vivre. In her early 20s, to avoid an arranged marriage, Kuldip abruptly, which is another word for runaway, left home. And this is where her 39 years of international travel experiences began. Learning the intricacies of world travel with her adventures through Europe, North America, Asia, Oceania, which is New Zealand and Australia, has inspired her to create the Mindful Travel Academy, where she helps women plan and take their first international adventure. Throughout her travels, Kuldip studied many esoteric modalities such as astrology, tarot, runes, numerology, human design. And after the birth of her first child opened the door into the world of yoga, she was, in her words, immediately hooked. Thereafter, she became a certified yoga teacher, training in both India and America. In 2021, she officially became a life coach, studying under Marianne Williamson. She earned her miracle-minded life coaching certification. The same year, she became an international best-selling author with her first book. Kuldip is yet again on another adventure exploring the US. She will always consider herself a citizen of the world. She is also a proud, supportive mother to her 3 adult children and creates adorable craft pieces as she travels around the world, leaving these as gifts for the people that she encounters.
And that's a wrap. Guys, we're going to turn out the podcast now because we already talked about everything. I'm just kidding. Okay, so now that your intro is out the way,
Yes, Asha.
I'm curious about what you're passionate about right now.
I am passionate right now about honoring myself and being the best version of myself, and not what somebody else thinks I should be, so that I can show up fully and wholly for all the people that I meet and interact with, and I can also draw out the best in them, and just walk with, there I go by the grace of God, and just be a decent human being and just be happy. Simple as that.
I got a question. It just pops in my head just now listening to you talk. I'm
Oh,
curious. Do you love people more than animals?
I love animals too. I'm house and pet sitting my way around the world. So I fostered so many rescue dogs. So you know what though, you have hit the nail on the head. I do spend a lot more time with animals than I do people.
Why is that?
Because why is that? Because A, I'm moving around so much around the world, and B, let's just say I feel a little disillusioned by a lot of people, because when I meet people, and because I life coach, I have a tendency, and I've been an astrologer for 40, almost 40 years now. Well, I picked up my first book and on that journey, and I have a habit of really, they say that there are 3 ways that we listen to people: the auditory, where we just accept things at face value. Then there's the listening when you're paying a little bit more attention, but then there's the soul to soul, like I see you, who are you? So I never judge a book by its cover. I always look at the words that people use and the integrity of their actions. And that's kind of soul to soul listening. And you don't often meet people that have that kind of integrity. And so I do spend a lot of time as a hermit on my own, but I'm working on my stuff. I mean, I'm working on building a business and working with clients that I can help, that are ready to be helped. So that's why.
we're on the other side of the thing. I love people.
Mhm,
Animals, I haven't spent too much time with animals. I mean, so I used to have animals growing up, but being in the US is kind of different. I have a different kind of rules when it comes to animal here in the US. Because,
mhm,
you got to keep everything in-house, kind of like mostly. So I'm not in-house because I grew up in Jamaica. So animals is like a little different in relationship back there. But it's interesting that you have really, really good connection with animals.
mhm.
And I'm thinking, what do they bring out in you that maybe other people doesn't bring out the same way?
Could it be what I bring out in them?
Say again?
Could it be what I bring out in them?
Ah, that too.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I fos so in my younger days, my answer unequivocally would have been people.
Mm,
However, as I've gotten older and things have happened, experiences have happened, but I fostered a lot of rescue dogs that
mm,
were rescued from kill shelters in the South, in Louisiana and in Texas. And I'm just able, I would always be given the most difficult cases, and I had to acclimate them so that they would then move into a family. And and I'm very accepting of not only people but animals as well. That in the 2 months I had them, there would just be a transformation that they would
mm,
be adopted and they'd go off to live with a family. And I and I think that we're all part, we are all part of the human race, and I love people wherever I go. But currently, I'm moving around too much.
mhm,
I mean, I just, whilst we were chatting, I said I just came back from 9 months in Australia and New Zealand.
mhm,
And so I met tons of people. However, relationships with people, you kind of got to spend a bit more time investing in them and getting to know them. And it's not always, when you're moving around so much, it's not always easy to sustain a lot. But although I keep in touch with them via phone and whatever, but animals are just unconditional as soon as you meet them.
mm.
Human beings are not unconditional. We all come
Only
with
when
our,
you're babies.
well, there you go. And as adults, we all come with our own drama and our own story and our own conditioning.
Mm. So if you had to pick a first time experience in your history, in your past,
Okay.
that has taught you some incredible lessons, which one would you start with?
Well, the very first experience that I would bring up will be when I ran away from home. I was born in England, born and raised in England. And even though I was born in England, my mother tongue is Punjabi. I have an Indian heritage. And obviously, I say I was born in England. And so I had a foot in the East and a foot in the West. And even though it was a very multicultural society, my parents were quite sort of orthodox. And I grew up in a small town in Kent where it's kind of eclectic in that groups all congregate. You've got your enclaves of your Indians, Pakistanis, Jamaicans, people from the Caribbean in general. And so it was a challenge to grow up. And when you're outside, you're a schoolgirl and you're living the British lifestyle, and then when you're at home, you're the Indian. So there came a juxtaposition in my life where I was just too militant to want to go through the arranged marriage process, and so I made a decision to run away, to leave
Mm.
that community behind. And what has that done for me? It's sent me on an adventure that it is just incredible. I mean, I traveled around the world. Um, I've met so many interesting people, done so many interesting things, and really, when I was born across the road from where Pocahontas is buried. And when I was 7 years old, I played her in a school play, and I said, I'm born in the wrong country. I'm supposed to be in America. And I grew up with American TV, like Little House on the Prairie and the Waltons and the Brady
Mm.
Bunch. So I just ate that up. So I knew that America was my spiritual homeland, and I was going to get here by hook or by crook.
Wow.
Hmm.
Mm. So you ran away,
Hmm.
and where did you stop when you first ran?
Well, I was working with a company called Sainsbury's Home Base, and they had recruited me to be a manager, and they train you. So what happened was, it wasn't, I mean, I want to preface this, Asha, it wasn't something that I did with enthusiasm. It was a very difficult decision.
Mm.
And I knew it took 5 years to actually do it. And it was because I knew I would be disowned and ostracized by my community. And to be that young and that naive, because you're never allowed out. Your life, my life was, I'm talking in third person here. My life was very controlled because as an Indian woman, you don't date, you can't date or have a normal quote unquote life. So it was a very fearful decision that I made. But fortunately, I was working for Sainsbury's, and I first left, and I was in Croydon, in an area called Croydon. And in fact, I lived in Thornton Heath down the road where all the Jamaican Rastafarians lived. So I kind of ran out of that straight into that. But I was sent north up to Yorkshire. And so right from the get-go, divine providence, whatever you want to call it, had me moving around the country. So, and I was a bit like, I was very naive. I mean, I really didn't know much about life. And I had a very romantic Pollyanna attitude about things. And I was always, I still am very enthusiastic about life, but it's very interesting. So that's kind of where my journey started.
Hmm.
And trust me, I could go on and on, Asha. So go ahead. Next question.
I'm trying to vision you
Yes.
doing the running, and what were you thinking, and what were you looking at or looking for? If you was looking, are you just running away from something? And I understand what you was running away from, but where you ran to first?
I if I want to tell you that I was organized, I wouldn't be telling you the truth. It was it was really um the fear of staying
Mm,
outweighed the fear of running.
mm,
And I just knew that I didn't want to do this. And I felt responsible that I was going to, if I married someone, I would ruin his life as well
mm,
as my own. And I felt very responsible that this was my decision. And why should I be responsible for hurting another human being? And I would, and it wasn't that my parents were not bad people. They were very much part of the community, and is part of the culture. And
mm,
that culture is that, your daughters do as they're told. You do as you're told.
mm.
What do you know at that age? I mean, your parents know so much more than you. What
What were
makes
your
you
age, by the way? I didn't catch that. What age
I
were
was
you?
I was 21 when I ran away, but I
21.
might as well have been 16 because you're not allowed out. You don't go to concerts, you don't go to discos. I mean, I had very much been groomed to be the perfect housewife, the
Mm,
perfect supportive spouse for whomever I was married off to. It's just, then you give me government and politics, the suffragette movement, Jane Austen, and literature and all of this. Suddenly you get very romantic ideas in your head about how your life could be at that age. So it wasn't that I had anything planned, Asher. I mean, it wasn't sort of like that I was that smart, but I just knew that there was something on the other side of the rainbow for me beyond what was being offered there. And I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to go to the ballet. I wanted to experience other cultures. And so I was very, very dreamy and romantic in my young age. Not that I can say I've lost all of that, but still. My feet are planted more firmer these days.
mm. So running feels safer than staying.
The fear of staying
Hmm.
was stronger than the fear of running.
Hmm. Not a lot of people can do the running, by the way.
That I've learned.
Some people stay because they don't have the energy to run.
I call it the chutzpah.
Hmm.
Asha, it was something that had I don't want to make light of it because there are a lot of women, Indian women in England,
Hmm.
the country that I know, that really don't have a choice and they find themselves acquiescing. And so women my age that I've gone back and see, like it was 15 years before I reconnected with my family again. And when I went back, so many of them said, we don't even know how you had the guts or the courage to do what you did because we would never have been able to do that. And as a result of it, but you take a risk in life, and this is what life is about to me. It's about taking risks. It's like we've been given the free will. Been given an imagination, and I'm just somebody who has a very carpe diem philosophy, and I'm like, I, I mean, for me, we've come here to learn about life. We haven't come
Hmm.
here to be, we are ordinary in being extraordinary. We haven't come here to just do the ordinary, because too many of us do that. So as a result of it, too many of us die without even knowing what our dreams are.
Mm. And what does running with so much fear but still running away taught you about yourself?
That there is nothing that I cannot accomplish if I put my mind to it
Mm.
and my energy. And I'm a survivor. My attitude was I'm either going to sink or swim. And once I had done the act of running, I knew there was no going back, because then my negotiation skills had been completely compromised. And so I said, I'd rather die than go back. So the forward was the only way for me.
Mm.
And I knew I was leaving England. I knew where I was headed. I didn't know how I was going to get here. Didn't know how I was going to do it, but no one was going to stop me.
When did you actually move to America?
I arrived in America. I ran away in September 29th, 1985, early hours of the morning at 4 a.m. This is etched in my memory. Do you want the nutshell version, Asher, or shall I give you the long-winded version? Because from that point, I arrived on the shores permanently, because I had already come to America beforehand. But in 92, I left New Zealand and
Mm.
arrived in America with a backpack and a dream. So I've been in the States since 92.
Since 92. You've been here before me. Wow. Mm. And what is this dream that you came here with?
Well, back then, yeah, was the dream that I was going to be successful and be the American dream, and romantic things that I had. I could have seen myself being a public figure or whatever, but I ended up meeting somebody, and that's who I married, and we built a company together and had
Mhm.
3 children. And then sometimes in life, we settle for what comes along, and that's kind of what I found. Now that I look back on it, I settled rather than saying, this is not for me. I didn't know myself well enough back then to have been able to make that decision. So now I am here reinventing myself again, only this time I'm not going to settle.
Mm. I'm trying to picture young women
Yes,
that are traveling on their journey through life right now. Like sometimes at certain age, like a lot of us don't know like who we are, what we really want. Like we don't. We know what we don't want, but what we really want, we don't really know.
of course.
And then we went on this journey and we figure out, okay, uh w- I think I think a lot of time we have to settle for something to recognize what we really want.
Okay.
And once we settle, like, okay, is this the place? Is this where I put roots down? Is this the person I put roots down with? And you gotta really like assess, and you realize, okay, this is not it. This is not. It's like something feeling like inside, like this is not it. And then you gotta figure, okay, what do I do now? So, but oftentimes the challenge is you've made so many decisions, you entangle so much with a person or a place that you feel like you can't leave.
Well, to answer that question, Asha,
Mm-hmm.
my now ex-husband and I were in Long Island on Long Island. And I didn't want to raise a family there, so we moved to New Jersey and we built a company together and had 3 children. During that journey, I realized that um, I had to dim my light in order to be in that marriage. But I had had 3 children, and I felt very responsible that I needed to take them to the finish line. In other words, graduating for college, going off to college.
Mm-hmm.
So um I made a decision, a conscious decision, to stay there and put my children first, because I had them and I felt completely responsible. And I always told myself I could make lots of money, but then I'd be paying therapists to fix my children.
Mm-hmm.
Or I stay there and I raise my children, and I may not have made tons of money, but at least I am at peace with the decision that I stayed there and I raised them and sent them on their way to be successful, so they can't turn around and point the finger at me and say, well, you left. So, and you're absolutely right. There are circumstances in life that come into play. I was adult enough to own up to my decisions. And then when the time came, I graduated that situation and I'm on my journey again. Would I like to be 20 years younger? Absolutely. But I'm not. I'm not, Asha. And I accept that.
Aren't we all? Aren't we
Yes.
all? You mentioned light though. If you had to pick a color for your light that you want to shine, that you say you was dimming your light, if you want to pick a color for the light that you want to shine, what
Yeah.
color would that light be?
Shimmering purple.
Purple.
Yes.
Seems there's a lot of women love purple these days. What is going on with the purple color?
No, I don't know what it about a lot of women. It's always been my color. Purple is royalty. Purple is
Mm,
elegance. Purple is and you know, like so I teach about the goddesses, about Athena, Persephone, Demeter. I teach about all of them.
mm-hmm,
And really for me, it's a high priestess.
mm-hmm,
It's the regal. And when I wear my Indian outfits, purple's the color because it's just it's very striking. I mean, I like turquoise and magenta and all those colors, but when you want to make a statement, it's either going to be red or purple.
mm, purple.
Yeah. See, and red is fertility. However, I feel like I've passed through those phases, and I'm at this point where my children are young adults, and I am just like allowing my feathers to fan like a peacock and just trying to find where I belong in this cosmic fractal that I am. So
Mm,
yeah.
beautiful. Purple.
Mhm.
Okay, so now you feel like you can shine your purple as bright as you want to. There's nothing that's dimming it right now.
I'm choosing not to. I'm my journey was so long. I think I was exhausted from giving so much.
Mm,
My well ran dry. So right now I got my life coaching certification with Marianne Williamson. I published my book. I'm teach yoga and I help the people along the way, but I haven't really launched myself again. I'm really hiding from the world. So it's really interesting because actually you're like the second podcast I'm doing. So I'm
mhm,
slowly
mm,
trying to re-emerge into society and find where I fit and where I can share my gift, to give my gift away to whomever I'm meant to give it away to.
mm. Interestingly, I was speaking to another friend, and she was on the podcast too.
Mhm.
But when she was sharing a story, something pops in my head, and I was thinking, we always trying to find like the niche, like the thing that's we call a niche. I don't know if you call it the same thing in England, but that
Yeah,
that 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 target you want to hit.
yeah,
And she was telling a story about her being molested when she was 10 years old.
yeah.
And then she was like I want to be a hero to those 10 years old that are trapped inside the body of other people, like a body of a grown person, that 10-year-old that's trapped. And I was thinking about it, I was like, that is so important because I'm not trying to be a hero to this grown person, but the 10-year-old person in them.
Yes.
That's who she's speaking to. So I was like, okay, that's easy to speak because now you're an expert to that 10-year-old
Mm-hmm.
because you've been that person, you know what that feels like. I know you've matured, your maturation process went through, and you're like, okay, no, I'm grown up now. But I gotta be here to those 10-year-old in those person that there. So then in your case now, there's a lot of 21-year-old
Mm-hmm.
that feel like running. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're in a place but they want to run away from it. And they don't have the courage to run. So now you want to be a hero to those 21-year-olds that are like, oh, I need to find a way out of this situation. How can I take off and do it? So how do you speak to those people? How do you be a hero? How do you speak to those people?
I wouldn't romanticize what I've done, Asha, because
Mm,
because the faint-hearted need not apply.
mm,
There has to be something within those young people that want to run away, that they know they'll survive.
mm,
Because if you make that decision, you're on your own. You're on
mm,
your own. And I can sit here and spout all of this stuff like, oh, it's easy. Oh, you can do this. But that individual has to know deep within its soul if it's cut out to survive without their family,
mm,
without the support of their parents. Because ultimately we want our parents to love us.
mm,
And and like even though I ran away, I did end up marrying the most traditional Indian man I could find in
mm,
America. So that just speaks to the fact that, we want that. And as I mean, being molested when you're young, yes, you get stifled. You get frozen in time because
mm,
your sexuality is stifled and you shut down.
mm,
This is if you run, how much courage do you have? Do you believe that the universe will take care of you, that whatever you need will come to you? Do you believe that your dream is bigger than you, once you get out there, that you're going to keep moving forward? Because it's really easy to fall into a rut. It's really easy to be taken advantage of, because it just depends on that individual. Granted, we all have social media, this, that, and the other. So if I had to give them advice, I would really hope that parents are a lot more understanding of their youngsters and saying, I understand this is your life, not mine, and trying to negotiate a fairer situation for themselves, because you're financially on your own as well. And if you're not savvy about making money, good luck. What do? You join the army, you join the navy, or you sign up with the military, or to get you somewhere. This is life, and we've come here to, this is the school of life, and we've come here to learn. And the lessons aren't always learned by running away, because when you run away, you carry a very heavy emotional backpack with you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna make you a tour guide right now, if you don't
Sure.
mind. Okay.
Sure.
So you're a tour guide, and this bus is gonna leave from New York to California.
Okay.
So this 21-year-old gonna get on this bus
Mm-hmm.
in New York. This bus says, if you don't want to be in an arranged marriage, you get on this bus. We're gonna take you to this location,
Okay.
and then the destination is California. So that's where we're going.
Okay.
Now there's a lot of stops on the way,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on the bus with these folks, these young-minded folks that want to get
Mm-hmm.
out of their situation. And while they're on the bus, you get to really talk to them and tell them exactly what that journey could look like, because you went through it.
Sure.
Now, on your first stop, what will you tell them?
Hmm. Get real if this is what you really want.
Say that again.
Get real if this is what you really want,
Mm-hmm.
because be aware that you're still close enough
Mm-hmm.
that you can go back. But if you go forward at the next stop, there's no going back.
Mm. So when did you decide there's no going back? I'm
Oh, I
curious
mean,
now.
I knew,
First
and
stop, second stop, as soon as you get on the bus.
before I even got on the bus, I knew. I knew. Because because Asha, I have an older brother who's 14 months older than me, and it was made very clear to me, and my mother was only doing culturally what she had been groomed and conditioned to do.
Mm-hmm.
That and this was back, I was born in 1964. So back then, growing up, my parents didn't speak English. So they were immigrants. My father was born in Malaysia, mother was born in India. And so moving forward, they were only doing what they had learned. And England wasn't exactly welcoming to immigrants. I mean, growing up, we had the National Front movement, we had Enoch Powell. So it's like you're a stranger in the country that you've chosen to move to, and you're hearing racist comments made at you, and and you're very culturally, you look different than the people that live there. And even though the British ruled in India, for 300 plus years, the culture was very different, and racism was in your face. And so I have a lot of empathy for my parents at this
Mm-hmm.
point in my life. But I've lived a long time, long enough to realize, because I have grown children myself, that it's not easy. The journey of life is not easy for anyone. And if you're really living your life according to your own, passion, desires, human design, then you're going to upset people.
Mm-hmm.
If you are being who you are, not everyone's going to like you. But back then, everyone has to like you, everyone has to approve of you. At this point in my life, you know what? If I'm unpopular, it means I'm being myself. So for those people, that I'd want them to evaluate why they're really doing what they're doing, and do they have it in themselves to survive, to work, to do something, to make a decision. Because I mean, in today's times, the cell phone has replaced a lot of people being able to use their own imagination. I mean, I didn't grow up with cell phones, so for me, it was only what I could conjure up in my own mind. And it's tough. It's tough to, I mean, for my children, I told them, I'm giving you the most valuable thing you'll ever get in your life. They're getting world-class educations. You know, and your education is your bargaining tool. It's what gives you opportunities
Mhm.
for now. But back then, when I was growing up, if you had that certain je ne sais quoi, go do it. Go do it. I'm very mindful about how I because people have to think this for themselves. It's not a seed that I wish to plant to anyone. Knowing the journey that I've had, knowing the isolation, the marginalization, and the ostracization that happens.
Mm. So would you say running away was the hardest thing you've done in your life?
Choosing to end my marriage was equally hard. Graduating from my marriage was equally hard because
Mm,
I knew the battle I was up against.
mm. How do you get through it?
I cried a lot. I cried a lot, and I had two people who I confided in and who just kept encouraging me to and I knew where I had to get to. And plus I wanted my children to be free, happy, and healthy. So that was also inspiring for me as well.
Mm. Well, congratulations, Kuldip.
Thank you.
You are incredibly strong, by the way. I'm telling you. There's not a lot of people can walk away from the mother tree and stay out there in the world and survive.
Mhm,
Not a lot of people can do it. Some people will wither away, and you look incredibly strong still
mhm.
because you found a way. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm,
It's not easy, Asha. It's not. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it
mm,
is because it's not. I mean, um I would love to be part of a community. I would love to have all that, but I'm not compromising who I am, and um I'm on a nomadic journey now. This has been a 2-year journey that I've been on,
mm,
and I'm sitting in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm like, this isn't for me either. So I'll keep moving on. But
mm,
we'll see. We'll see where life takes me. But there's a reason. Life happens for you, not to you. So there's
mm,
a reason why things happen, and I'm praying that it will manifest itself, and I'm confident it will, because ultimately I want to open a retreat center and create my own community to help, and I'll probably be helping women my age. So
mm,
my niche that you mentioned earlier, my niche is I help women who've graduated their marriages, aka divorce,
mm,
become savvy, who want to live life and not just settle, become savvy international travelers.
mm. Well, I can tell you right now, you're an expert at not settling.
Yes.
If the universe has certified you in anything, you are certified in not settling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you a dream, and you just mentioned it. So what is this part of your big dream? What is this part of it? Along with that retreat, what is this part of your big dream?
Okay, so I've said, so if anybody wants to reach me, by the way, Asha,
Hmm.
I have a landing page, and it's www.savvytravelergift.com, and that will sort of like give them a little insight into who I am, what I do,
Hmm.
and they can get in touch with me that way. And my dream, if I have to say, is that I will be transatlantic, have a base in the US and base in Europe, and I will continue teaching yoga, continue using all the tools that I've acquired, and I will help women who've come out of raising babies, supporting their husbands, and find themselves lost. I will help them to reconnect with themselves and be able to travel, go abroad, and be fearless, and live unapologetically,
I can
and
resonate with
be amazing.
fearless.
Yeah, be amazing goddesses. Be alive, be vibrant, and shine their light, and just live with joy and passion.
Mm, I love it. Well,
Mm.
thank you for sharing that, Kuldeep.
My
It's been
pleasure. Thank you for welcoming me to your podcast, Asha. I appreciate that. I've had a wonderful time.
yes, yes. And you actually mentioned your website and everything, which is cool. So now, I have two more questions before we wrap up.
Sure.
What has been your biggest takeaway or giveaway that you can share from this conversation we have today?
My biggest takeaway or overall in life,
Just from our conversation.
just from our conversation, my biggest takeaway.
Mm,
This is the one life we're given. Make the most of it.
mm,
Yeah. Don't settle into mediocrity and think that's it, because we are in control of our lives. We have a choice. And take risks. Take as many risks as you can. Yeah.
Those a firm word. Take risk.
Yes.
Not a lot of people can do that, by the way. We want safety and certainty. And
Hmm.
oftentimes, no
Hmm.
first time experiences in safety and certainty. You need to go take risks to have first time experiences.
And live life with passion, so that you can say that you've lived, you've loved, and you've done everything you want to do. Because if you conceive it, if you dream it, you can achieve it, because we're never given an idea that we can't accomplish.
Mm. Recently, one of my hero is Celine Dion. I love that lady. She sings very well. I don't know if
She
she's on
definitely
your
is.
singing. Yeah,
She's
I was
going through
watch. Yeah,
she's going through her own battle right now as well.
yeah, I was watching her documentary, by the way. Interesting. I was watching. I was listening to. She said something in it that really hits me. She was like, "I've been to so many places, but I felt like I didn't see anything." And I was like, "Ah." Because if you're constantly performing and sheltered in your security space, you don't really see much. But I can understand why she said that too.
Hmm.
And just looking back at life, sometimes you're like, oh my God, did I actually see anything while I was doing my movement, my traveling? And then for me, for your question, I ask you then, what have you seen so far that been so beautiful that you would love to share right now that you've seen that maybe other people haven't seen on your journey so far?
Well, I've traveled extensively, and I'm not Celine Dion. I mean, I was traveling on my own. However, what I will say is that the best job that if somebody asks me what the best job that I've done is, the best job I've done is to be a mother to my children.
Mm,
Um, I chose to because I had them, and I felt it was my responsibility. And I enjoyed every moment of them growing up. That when they actually left, I wasn't sitting there with empty nest syndrome and upset. I'm just sitting back now and watching them reap the rewards of everything that I provided for them and encouraged them to do. And I could, trust me, I could be a proud mama for hours.
mm,
However, what I would say is that what I've seen is that if it's important to invest time in the people that you love,
mm,
because that will only come back to you tenfold. So the love and the energy that has brought me has fed me in so many amazing ways. So yeah, for me, it's about cultivating genuine, honest relationships as best one can.
mm. Well, your marriage was one of your longest stop on your
Mm.
journey.
It was.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
married for 23 years.
mm,
And he's a good man. It's just that he and I have different directions that we're in.
mm.
And I'm meant for something else. So it was time for me to go.
I hope you find it cool, Dip. And I wish
Hmm.
you all the best on that
Thank you,
journey.
Asha. Thank you.
When you get to California, let me know.
Okay. I'm actually going to make my way over there because I want to go see. I mean, I've seen California, but I'd like to see Santa Barbara
Mm-hmm.
and San Diego. But in the meantime, my eldest is getting married in Italy, so I'm off to Italy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Congratulations to
Thank
boy or
you.
girl?
He's my son.
Son. Okay.
Yeah, he was born in the States, but he decided to move to London. And he met his wife, who's Italian, and so they're getting married in her hometown in Piedmont. So off to Italy.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
enjoyed. And last
Thank
question for you.
Yes.
What is that one thing or two thing when people do it drive you crazy?
Lie,
Mm.
and I know they're lying, and pretend to be someone they're not.
Mm. Well, be you, my friend. Because like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Keep being
Absolutely.
you.
Yes,
Keep being you.
absolutely.
Well, was an incredible conversation. I enjoyed talking to you, Kuldip, and I
Likewise, Ash.
welcome you
Likewise.
to the podcast one more time, and
Thank
the rest
you.
of you.
Thank you so much, Asha. I've had a blast. Thank you. I loved your questions as well. Continue the good work, by the way. Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you, thank you.
My
And you
pleasure.
tune into Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And today, Kuldip has dipped you into her wisdom uh repository. So I take some of what you can learn from her and take it on your journey. And if you gotta run, run. If you gotta stay, stay. But whatever you do, be you.
Be
With
you.
that said, make it an awesome week.